are in Faith Valley Meadow, which is a 120-acre meadow located in the Eastern Sierra on the West Fork Carson River. Behind me are beaver dam analogs, which are features that mimic natural beaver dams that are used for stream restoration. And so these features were built to bring the water table up, trap sediment, and agrade over time. So it's bringing the channel elevation up to meet the meadow surface. I've been involved with this project since 2016. It was identified as a high priority because of its degraded condition and because it has historic habitat for willow flycatcher.
One of the issues at Faith Valley and the meadow in Faith Valley that's common throughout California is that meadows have been degraded. And degraded just means damaged, or they're not as healthy as they once were. This can be for any number of reasons.
This area has a long history of grazing and land uses from kind of the gold rush era. And so around that time, there were just massive quantities of sheep out here. The banks had basically been denuded of vegetation, and so it starts to downcut. And this also all occurred at the same time that the fur trade was occurring, and so beaver were extirpated throughout most of the Sierra and likely in this area.
There's a big push to do stream and meadow restoration in these areas, and when you start talking about why they degraded, a lot of it gets blamed on the road systems that come in, or perhaps we modified drainages because we wanted to graze cattle on them or homestead on them or something. But even before all of that, there was hunting for beaver pelts. They were the architects of these landscapes, and by taking them out, we started the demise of these wonderful ecosystems in the Sierra.
There is a beaver population in Faith Valley. They were likely extirpated from this area and then reintroduced. So we would see some really big, awesome dams that were really enhancing conditions locally, but because the channel was so deep, in big high water years, they would get blown out. We wanted to work with the beaver, so we decided to go with a light-handed approach to do beaver dam analogs. The basic principle is that you pound in posts across the channel and then weave either willows or conifers or a mixture of both between them. And so it mimics a natural beaver dam. It rapidly raises the water table, and also over time, as flows bring sediment down the channel, it will get trapped behind the feature and it will agrade, so that brings the whole channel elevation up to help reduce channel incision and reconnect the channel with the floodplain.
The hope is that the beaver will adopt these beaver dam analogs and continue to maintain them throughout their lifetime. They know what the landscape needs. What we have to do is just give them a little help.
The biodiversity of the state of California is part of the biodiversity of the planet. And protecting biodiversity is essential to keeping our ecosystems functioning. It's part of our food supply, it's part of our clean air, our water, and protecting that natural beauty is part of our mission and our responsibility. This is a place where birds come to eat insects, where animals come to get water. And so while this may not be big in terms of acres, it's really big in terms of its benefits to the species of California that we're charged with helping to protect.
California is a biodiversity hotspot, and when you consider all of the species that live in the Sierra Nevada, and there are many, most of them have a portion of their life cycle depends on meadows or riparian habitat.
Meadows provide numerous functions and values for wildlife, for humans, for plants. They provide oases of moisture in the dry Mediterranean climate of California. So wildlife seek out meadows. They are highly productive for insects. They're highly productive for plants. They store carbon. They help attenuate floods.
Meadows, when they are functional, support water supply and water quality. And when there's a lot of snow melt and spring runoff across these meadows, they sort of soak it up and they hold it as shallow groundwater.
They're just storing massive amounts of water that they're very slowly letting out into the environment. So if we want to protect our drinking water, both the quantity and quality of it, then we need to be protecting where it's coming from their sources. And meadows are where those sources are.
Most of the meadows and the stream systems that need work are within national forest areas or public lands. But to have the time and the personnel and the money to be able to make a restoration attempt on these systems is very, very limited within U.S. Forest Service. And so having partners like American Rivers working to increase the pace and scale of getting these back to how they originally were, we wouldn't be doing it at this scale without them.
Restoration is not an exact science. It is a long process. There's no one path that you can kind of copy and paste to each system. Each meadow is different. Ackerson Meadow is one of the largest mid-elevation mountain meadows in the Sierra Nevada, jointly managed by the National Park Service, Yosemite National Park, and the U.S. Forest Service, Stanislaus National Forest. Since the late 1800s, Ackerson was privately held up until 2016 when a partnership of organizations worked with American Rivers and the National Park Service to get it purchased and then transferred to the park.
Ackerson Meadow is a part of a 190-acre meadow complex. About 100 of those acres have been degraded or lost due to a large erosion channel, and there are still 90 acres intact. The goal of this project is to restore those 100 acres of lost wetland and protect the 90 acres that remain.
It's not that anybody was trying to hurt the meadows, but decades of logging, road building, ditching, grazing, basically overutilization that caused erosion in Ackerson Meadow.
And now what we have in Ackerson is a 3-mile-long erosion gully that's 14 feet deep and 100 feet wide, and it's actively draining the meadow of its water and lowering the water table.
A gully that's draining water and concentrating flow lowers water table within the entire meadow, and that converts a meadow from a wetland into a dry meadow, changing the plant community entirely, changing the animals that use the meadow, altering the entire meadow ecosystem into something else.
So we considered different alternatives. One of them was to build beaver dam analogs, which we determined that it would take over a century to even begin to start capturing enough sediment to fill the channel. So we decided to come in and fully fill the channel in order to restore the meadow.
Part of the reason that we took this approach, this full fill approach at Ackerson Meadow, is that it provides restoration outcomes very quickly.
This work involves full fill meadow restoration, which basically means hauling in of fill soil material to fill incised channels. This project was funded in part by $12 million from California Department of Fish and Wildlife. given that it's going to have immediate effects and it's being done at such a large scale, we wanted to participate in something so groundbreaking.
I think it's a unique project because of the scale of it. Nobody has really tried to do something this big before in the Sierra. This full fill approach, which relies on heavy equipment to move 150,000 yards of soil, which is a massive amount, 15,000 10-yard dump trucks.
Filling the gully required a lot of fill material, and all of the fill was sourced on site. 70% of the mix that went into the gully was soil collected just upslope of the meadow from borrow areas, and 30% of the mix was wood chips, which was chipped trees from borrow areas and from local downed and burned trees around the meadow. We took every precaution we could to minimize the amount of impacts we had with this equipment.
It's a lot of disturbance to the wildlife that are here, which include 3 endangered species, the willow flycatcher, the great gray owl, the northwest pond turtle, and then of course we also have the Pacific fisher moving through from time to time.
We had a team of aquatic specialists and biologists that were out here every day ahead of equipment, looking for turtles by hand, using telemetry for tagged turtles. We also had trained turtle detection dogs that could find turtles based on scent.
And then in the spring, we would come back and plant 425,000 plants into the ground. 18-inch spacing throughout all of the area that was disturbed within the meadow. Now that the gully is full, we spread out the water. It saturates into the soil. The water slowly trickles downstream and sticks around much longer. And so that preserves base flow and channel flow downstream to communities that depend on that water.
It was really gratifying to see the fruits of our labor, the re-wetting of the meadow, and to know that all of that meadow that gets re-wetted will re-sprout wetland plants. And next spring, from forest edge to forest edge, all of this meadow will be flourishing as a wetland again for the first time in a century and a half.
We try to focus on function. We try to focus on getting these natural processes going again, and that will allow these systems to sustain themselves long after we're gone.
It's incredible how much nature bounces back. Last time I was here, I don't even remember revegetation having been performed yet, and it's been less than a year, and I'm looking around and I'm not seeing any vegetation failing at this point in time. So in terms of meeting success criteria, it looks like it's very successful.
It's so exciting to see a place change as a result of restoration. In 5 years, you won't even know that there was a gully here. You won't even remember that there was heavy equipment in the meadow. It'll be an intact wetland. It'll be full of songbirds and wildflowers and water flowing across the surface. It's going to be quite a beautiful sight to see.
Since June, when we got that last of the plants into the ground and could finally step back and say, job well done, it was quite a feeling then, and every day it just increases in gratitude and thankfulness for all the people that helped this come together.
In the end, Ackerson Meadow has become a model of its kind of restoration, and it really shows how you need to bring people together and work in partnership if you want to fix something at a large scale. And that's exactly what we've done here.